So welcome to another episode of Visionary New Earth Leaders podcast. And today we are going to have a great conversation. I can feel it already about astrology and things like that. But we're going to go in first and introduce our wonderful guest, who is Tara. And I would love for Tara to introduce herself as what she does, where she's based, and a little bit what she does. There you go. You can introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Gennye. I truly appreciate you having me on your podcast. I'm truly honored. And I'm so happy to share this knowledge with your listeners today. So I'm based in the United States. I live in New Jersey. I am an astrologer and energy healer. My background is in the healing arts, in massage therapy, both Eastern and Western. I'm a certified healing touch practitioner, which is similar to Reiki, just different techniques are used. And during that process, going for that certification, I went to a shaman, and she's the one that introduced me to astrology. And I just fell in love and explored it for myself in my own self-growth and evolution, and took it from there. And I've been studying it for about 7 years now. And I just love it. And it has helped me grow and evolve and understand my personal energy and embody it, and to be able to move through cycles and energies that are happening collectively, and how to best use them. So that's what I hope to provide for your listeners today.
Oh, it's so wonderful. I absolutely love astrology because that's how I started my own esoteric journey. I was 15 and I used to get all these books from the library. Some of them I bought myself, and I was diving into astrology, learning all about the different aspects of astrology. And it's like really vast. When you go and dive into it, it's huge, isn't it? There's so many different aspects to understand. So I would love for you to, because I had an interview with another lady, we were talking about shamanic astrology. How would you like to, it's not so much about compartmentalizing ourselves, but what is your passion within astrology? What do you feel is the place where you really love talking about? Is it a specific part of it, or yeah, just tell us. Just tell us.
Well, I practice modern tropical astrology, which I found has helped me. I love talking astrology in regard to self-growth and evolution, soul growth, evolution, and really embodying the higher spectrum of energy of the planets in your chart. Each planet has a lower spectrum and a higher spectrum of expression. So it's about being aware of when you're in the lower expression and being able to get yourself out of that quicker, and really embodying the high expression to be able to evolve you at a soul level. So I also like to look at evolutionary astrology as well, where Pluto is the main focus, because Pluto is the soul's deep desires and evolutionary process. So for me, I love talking about all different kinds of astrological topics. I love talking about the different eclipses. Like today is the Scorpio lunar eclipse, where we're recording today, and how it affects us, but really embodying our energies in learning how to move through these energy cycles with ease, with grace, and not falling into the fear. And you know what, that happens. It happens, but being able to get out of it quickly. So,
of course. And allowing ourselves to feel the cycles, I suppose, not to try to resist anything, just kind of notice, oh, this is interesting. You know what I mean? Like that. The other thing I was going to what came to mind now when you were talking about Pluto, evolutionary Pluto, because I love shadow work. I love to look at the deep parts of the psyche, you know, the deeper parts of our consciousness. And because I do believe, as a healer myself, that our true power comes from owning and really embodying all parts of who we are, which has got, if you like, a dark and a light side, you know, the opposites. So I really love that as well. Is there something that do you call that shadow work in astrology, or do you call it deep subconscious? What's the, how do you word those things, and how do you explain those things in astrology?
It's one and the same. So the deep mental processes, the shadow work, facing those is, and embracing the shadow, recognizing it instead of shoving it under the rug or not taking a look at it, not shining the light on it, is only going to make it come out stronger until you actually face it and look at it. So as scary as it might seem at first, it's really not. And I'm talking for myself. And there's a lot of talk in the spiritual community about the dark night of the soul. I mean, that could be considered Pluto. It can be considered Scorpio energy, which is one of the same. So doing that shadow work, doing that dark night of the soul, when you're in it, it's not easy, but once you come out of it, it's so rewarding. You're the phoenix rising. You're transformed. That's the whole point of Pluto, Scorpio, is that you rise up. Like I think of, for those who are Game of Thrones fans, I think of that moment when Khaleesi rise out of the fire holding the dragons, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, like you're really in your full power now.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
really
I love it.
about owning your power, you know?
Yeah. I love it so much. I love it so much. We could talk just about that, but we have decided that we are going to talk about something else today because it's very current at the moment. And as we're recording on this day today, I actually said it before we started, so we've got 555 portal today. Mercury's retrograde as well. We've got the lunar eclipse. But when this episode comes out, we are going to go into the new moon in Taurus, right? So let's talk about that, and let's talk about Venus, because this episode will probably be current for the rest of 23. So I'll just kind of hand over to you when it comes to let's talk about the new moon. What does that mean? Because some people won't understand. So let's just break it down a little bit first with the new moon.
Of course. Absolutely. So the new moon occurs every month, and it is when the sun and the moon are together, or in astrology, it's called a conjunction. So they're side by side, they're together. And on May 19th is the new moon in Taurus at 28 degrees. So with every new moon, it is a wonderful time to plant seeds. And in Taurus, like Aries, we just came out of the Aries ones. Taurus, you're planting the seeds, nourishing them to grow. It's a great time to plant new seeds, plant intentions of what you'd like to manifest in your life. And that's with every new moon. But with this particular new moon on the 19th, there is a whole lineup of planets in Taurus. So, and Venus is the ruler of Taurus. So I felt it would be a great topic to discuss the phases of Venus, because most people are familiar that the moon has phases because you see that predominantly in the night sky, you know, new moon, crescent moon, full moon. But what most people don't realize is Venus has a lot of cycles too, actually a lot more than the moon. And so the moon and Venus have this wonderful relationship in this dance that they do together. And I thought that would be a great thing to discuss.
I would love for you to explain more on a collective level what happens, because also now I'm realizing I'm launching the podcast officially on the 25th of May. So only 5 days after the new moon has, right, coming to the surface sort of thing. I guess it's a good time because it's something new, right? Would you say that?
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would love to discuss Taurus in general, since there's
Yeah.
this huge focus, because we have the sun and the moon in Taurus, we have Uranus in Taurus, we have Mercury retrograde in Taurus, we have the North Node in Taurus, and Jupiter has just entered Taurus at this point on May 19th at 0 degrees.
Wow.
Yes.
Massive. So this 19th
Yes.
of May and going forward, it's going to be like huge, it's such a focus on Taurian energy as well.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just hand over to you. Explain more. What are we
Okay.
going to expect? What's going to happen for the next, 6 months?
Well, I'd love to discuss the energy of
Yeah.
Taurus and Venus in general. So for those who are not familiar, since there's such a focus there, Taurus is an earth sign, and it's the sign right after Aries in the zodiac. So in astrological timing, Aries begins the zodiac, then comes Taurus. Aries is ruled by Mars, Taurus is ruled by Venus. And Taurus, being what's called a fixed earth sign, is all about whatever you started in Aries season is now taking root. Taurus is very earthy. That's why I wanted to have this earthy background behind me, right? The trees. Exactly. It's also very stable. It's very self-reliant. It is all about beauty and what you can grow and the creation process. Very, very created and grounded. So, and it's calm and it moves slower, where Aries wants to go and go, go, go. It's impatient. And this Taurus energy is like, no, I just want to sit and relax and enjoy and take a look at this beautiful trees and everything around me.
Yeah.
So since there's this focus, there's definitely a slowdown. And in this chart, Venus is in Cancer. So Venus is in the rulership of the moon, and the moon is in the rulership of Venus. So they are in what's called mutual reception. And because they're in each other's rulership. So there's this beautiful conversation going on.
Wow.
And the moon in astrology is what's called exalted in Taurus. And what that means is it's in a beautiful, expressive energy. It's self-aware. It has natural gifts in Taurus, and it's in its highest expression. And so you really want to take advantage of this beautiful, beautiful energy, creative energy. The moon being our emotions, where we go at the end of the day. It's our home. It's where we feel safe and secure. So that stable inner security, being supported by that Venus in Cancer, nurturing that. Because Cancer is all about the nurturance, the growth, how you're taking care of yourself.
Love that.
So the moon, as we know, is about a 29.5 day cycle. That's where the word month comes from. And it has 8 phases. So the new, the waxing crescent, the first quarter, full, third quarter, waning crescent. But Venus also has phases, and it is a 19-month phase is one Venus cycle, as opposed to the one moon cycle is 29.5 days. And there's 13 phases within that 19-month period.
Wow.
And not all of them are of equal duration. Some of them are a few days long, and some of them are 6 months long.
Wow.
Right.
For a technical perspective, what is the cycle? Because we know that when we say the cycle is the planet going around the sun, so if it takes 19 months for Venus to go around the sun, what's the cycle? Is it Venus rotating, or like what's the cycle?
The cycle is the relationship from our position on Earth,
Yeah.
but also to the sun.
Yes.
So it's because Venus is all about relationships too,
Yes.
right? So let's talk a little bit about what Venus is. Venus is our creative feminine power, right? Our
Goddess
receptive
power.
nature too, right? It's very yin energy, which is like the moon. So it's giving and receiving and how we relate to everything. It's not just person to person relationship, but how do we relate? How are we in relation to ourselves?
Yeah.
How are we in relation to Mother Earth Gaia? Everything, relationships to money. And that's Taurus too, is what you own, right?
Very
So
material, kind of grounding, sort of 3D things visible.
exactly, but also practical,
Yeah.
right? Taurus is very practical, and what do you need? It's really about what you need, and the moon is about your emotional needs. So the Venus cycles are based on how we see her traveling through our sky here on Earth.
Yes.
So there is a point where there's a 7-month period actually where Venus is invisible to us. So it's like that Pluto, she's going underground, right? To come out like her dark night of the soul.
Wow.
And
she do like around, it's like a little elongated sort of circulation around the sun, right? Because otherwise, how would she come out of sight?
Yeah, it is because it's our view from here on Earth.
Yeah.
That's what it's all based upon.
So cool.
So it's how Venus cycles affect us here on Earth and our human selves. So it's about, with all the planets, not just Venus, it's our view from here on Earth, how these planets are affecting us here. If we were on Mars or if we were on Mercury, there would be a different perspective, right? A different evolutionary perspective. But we're here now on this beautiful planet.
Here we are.
In our Earth suits, in our human suits. So it's, how is it affecting us here, right now? So, and there's also Venus as a morning star and Venus as an evening star. So Venus as a morning star, she rises above the eastern horizon and she's out during the day. That type of energy is very quick, intellectual. It's that yang energy. So she's taking on that sun perspective. So she's very moody, I guess, kind of, you could say, just like the moon, right? But then she goes as an evening star, and that's when she's rising in the western horizon after sunset. And at first, like the moon, after being a new moon, she's slow, she's dim, but she gradually gets brighter in the sky, and that's that yin energy.
Wow. So this is the question. So when it comes to the moon, we understand that at the full moon, we want to release things and let go. The new moon, we plant new seeds. What about Venus cycles? What initiatives could we take working with her cycles? Because I didn't actually know that. I mean, I know that she's got cycles, but I didn't know that we could work with those. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, explain, because most people probably wouldn't know.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So that's why I totally wanted to talk about this today, because I feel it's so exciting. And since the North Node is ruled by Venus, that's the direction we're going.
Yeah.
So I wanted to discuss currently. So back in December in 2022, December 14th specifically,
Mm.
Venus was in her what's called her rebirth phase.
Mm.
So like I said, she's got 13 phases. But for the sake of today's conversation, I'm just going to focus on 3 of them because it's affecting us right now.
Mm.
So she was in that rebirth phase, which is about 8 days long. And she had just emerged over the Western horizon.
Mm.
And after coming out of that 7-month period where she was invisible. So she was like Persephone, went underground into the underworld, right? So now she's coming out, reborn, and is imprinted with collective potentials and goals and birthing a new feminine destiny.
Wow. This is
Yes,
like the divine feminine rising, yeah?
right, exactly.
Mm.
So, and like I want to be clear, like when I say feminine, I'm talking strictly about energy. So
Yeah.
feminine energy being receptive, the womb, our creative potential,
Yes,
right?
in everyone.
And everyone,
In
whether
everyone.
you're a man, woman, however you identify, it's that feminine principle within you.
Yes.
Um, And after that 8 days, on December 22nd in 2022, which she went into her remembering and embodiment phase, which we're still in currently, but we're coming towards the end. And that's was about a 5 or is about a 5.5 month long phase. And this is when she's very high and bright in the sky at sunset. And she's remembering, embodying, and growing the influence on the world and maturing in her feminine destiny. So
Wow.
we're currently in that phase, but we come out of that phase on June 5th. So in just a month from today,
Wow.
Venus goes into what's called the wholeness phase. And that is 50 days long, that phase. And that's where everything that she had discovered by going through her dark night of the soul and rebirthing herself and embodying during the remembering and embodiment phase that we're in now, she's going to come out in her wholeness. So think of it like the full moon,
Yeah, like
right?
the birth, like she was birth,
Exactly.
but like the wholeness of the creation, completion.
Correct.
Wow.
Absolutely. So then she's balanced, she's in her full expression, and she's the reborn feminine energy and manifesting that destiny. And at that point, Venus is going to enter Leo.
Right.
So, and so on close to that day, June 5th, she's through Cancer. And now she's in Leo, and Leo is ruled by the sun and so full and warm. And Leo is that true, full creative expression.
Mm.
And this summer, Venus is going to travel all the way to 28 degrees of Leo, and then she's going to retrograde back. So we're going to be in that wholeness phase until September 4th, she stations direct again, but in that Leo area, so that creative expression. So we're going to be reworking and go over our feminine nature throughout the summer till September in that
Wonderful
coldest
energy for the
days.
summer well, in this hemisphere anyway, because that will be as warm here in the UK and in Europe. But yeah, wonderful. So then obviously she's retrograde, then she'll go into Virgo, but not necessarily in September. Or does she go in there into Virgo?
Not in September, because
Retrograde.
her retrograde goes from 28 Leo to 12 degrees Leo.
Wow.
So then she's got to travel all the way
Again.
back to Leo. So she's doing her first pass, and then she stations retrograde. She's going back to all the way to 12. And then she comes all the way back, has to go through all those degree points again. So it's going to be a little bit that really reworking and making sure that we're at our full creative expression. And what's beautiful too is that a few days after this new moon on the 19th, Venus and the moon will have their conjunction.
Wow, powerful the conjunctions, aren't they?
Yes, yes. And that's when and that's part of this remembering and embodiment phase as well. So all the communication between this moon and Venus, balancing our emotional and love for ourselves, right? Self-love, self-worth. What do we value? What's good now? What makes us feel good? And are we nurturing that on a very, very deep level? And at that point, happens to be May 23rd, when the moon and Venus are conjunct in Cancer, that it represents that nurturing and that strengthening new life in that waxing crescent moon phase, right? Growth, creation, fertility. So it's a beautiful, beautiful time to really create the life you want, the new world, like your new earth leaders.
I can't believe, so the reason I chose the 25th, I mean, check this out. So I kind of sort of cheekily launched a few episodes on YouTube because I thought, well, I might as well. But I was intentionally holding back the actual official podcast launch. And I had no idea why. I just knew intuitively I had to wait. And then it just came to me. I was like, it's 25th of May. That's when we're doing it. And it's also my daughter's birthday. So I'm like, we are birthing this thing. It's coming to fruition. And obviously, this is the thing. If you're connected to the multiverse universe, like we are, we can also intuitively pick dates. I feel this.
Oh, yes.
But it's very wise to look at the astrology as well, because I do that as well. But in this instance, I actually didn't. So interesting. Tell us more about this birthing, creating, getting the seeds out, basically, to be in feminine creation energy. Tell us more about that for the new athletes watching, visionary new athletes watching, entrepreneurs, coaches, business owners, because we can pull this energy across, right? It's not just for spiritual entrepreneurs. This is for everyone. So we just want to dive deeper in. What's the opportunities that are opening up for us?
Well, I feel it's endless, limitless, really, truly, honestly, because it's about self-reliance. Taurus is very self-reliant, and it's about taking your life into your own hands and being responsible with it, and not relying on the outside world. And we can see what's happening on the world stage and drop into fear, which can happen time to time. But if those fears come up, the best way to look at it is to look at it.
Yes.
Embrace it and say, okay, but you have the power to change it. So being a new earth leader is really truly embracing the fear, but having the power, knowing you have the power within you. With this Pluto in Aquarius now, Pluto is the rest of the year going to retrograde back into Capricorn. But at this moment in time, with this new moon, Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius, and it is making a difficult aspect to that Jupiter at 0 degrees. And also when Mars moves into Leo, that's fixed, a fixed sign, as well as the nodes. So it's going to feel intense, but it's a lot of internal intensity waiting to break free.
Yeah.
So, and that's that creative potential, like as women who have given birth, right? We're both mothers. Like that, you're in the delivery room and you're feeling those contractions.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, get this at me. This baby's got to come out. So it's that kind of feeling like,
Yeah.
you know, that birth, you know, no one said birthing is easy, but the reward is if you follow that energy, you're going to be creating beautiful, magnificent businesses, whatever it is you do, whether it's artwork, whether it's accounting, it's, you know, however, whatever it is, creating something that's of service. Really, that's what the focus is while these are very personal signs, Taurus is a personal sign, Cancer is a personal sign. It's about being firm in yourself and owning your energy. But with that Pluto in Aquarius, how are you sharing that with the world in the evolution of the world?
Yes.
So as New World, New Earth leaders, it's about sharing.
Yes.
And sharing our knowledge. And it's time. It's time to take power into our own hands. That's what I feel like, because this Aquarius opposes the Leo, Pluto in Leo. So that I feel it's demystifying and breaking up the illusion of that the power lies within the elite. So Leo is like royalty. It's, you know, the elite, or what seems like elite. It's really taking the individual power back. Like Pluto is like, here's your power. I'm giving it to you. What are you going to do with it?
But you know, when you say these things, everything makes sense, because I always, as a business owner and as a leader myself and guiding my clients, I always talk about sovereignty. I always talk about your own personal power. It's one of the things that I teach passionately about. And it's such a wonderful time. It's a wonderful thing to hear that we're going into this phase, as you said, with Taurus, being very self-reliant, believe they have the power within to create. It's got this stability to it, which I think if we can all embody this kind of, so I have Taurus rising in my ascendant, but and Venus ruling both because I'm Libra, but so I get it. But what I feel is this self-reliant energy that we can resource to, and we know that we have that. That's power, you know, that's power from within. And as you said, it so makes sense with the Pluto and the Aquarius in Aquarius, because Aquarius is all about the future and spreading the word and, you know, communicating out into the, you know, into what innovation kind of thing, right? And then Pluto is the depth of the soul. So it's like, well, what are you going to communicate from the depth of your soul that is going to change the world?
Exactly.
And that's exactly, and this is why the spiritual leaders and the visionary new earth leaders, the leaders of the new earth, really, we need to speak up and become visible, right?
Absolutely.
And teach from the soul and not hide anymore. Now is the time.
Exactly. It's now is the time. It's the beautiful time for creation. Creation. And I almost feel like we're heading into a little bit of a Renaissance type of feel, with art. And it's like whatever you may have thought wasn't possible really truly is. So artists, writers, like what is of value? But it's also about simplicity.
Yes.
So complicated stuff is going to be thrown out the window.
Yeah. Make it simple, beautiful, clean, sleek, because that's Taurus as well.
Exactly.
Enjoy it. What came to me as well, and this is something I always talk to my clients about in the membership, or if we're working one-on-one, wherever we're working, like body, I always teach and coach about enjoying your journey. All right, so if we're in the dark night of the soul, that feels tough. It's not about, oh, I'm really enjoying this stuff. It's not, but what, like, I'm really open to all the faces, but it's creating from a place of joy, being able to be honest with yourself and say, I really enjoy this, but I don't really enjoy this much. So therefore, I'm going to outsource that in my business, or where possible, I'm going to do that. And I'm really going to enjoy this. Like, I love this podcast, so I'm going to enjoy creating it. And I think that's an important piece, because work or doing your mission has got this old paradigm. It's hard, it's grit. And yes, we need to work towards our goals, but can we enjoy it more? Maybe.
Of course. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point.
If you're not having fun doing it, there's no point in doing it.
No. Absolutely.
So
if it lights your soul up, do it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So before we finish off, is there anything you wanted to add, because you're the expert, to this conversation before we round off that would be valuable? Because we've spoken about Venus. Do you feel we've emptied the Venus topic, or was there anything else you wanted to add before we go?
Well, it's such a vast topic because she has so many phases.
Sure.
But it really is worth and valuing yourself, giving yourself love, filling your cup up, not relying on outside to fill your cup up. You're responsible for filling your cup up. And then you can give, then you can share. And, falling back into love, because Venus is all about love. And I'm not just talking about the romantic.
Sure, fall in love with your work, fall in love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's all different types of love. And I feel that that's part of our lesson too, is learning the different types of love, what real love is, being authentic and expressing your authentic self. So I encourage people to really acknowledge the fears, but not take them with you. With this Pluto, we're coming into what's called a grand cross or a grand square. And with Pluto's going to transform and help you to release with the nodes, the South Node being in Scorpio. So whatever is not meant to be with you, that's not healthy, that's an unhealthy attachment, is going to leave. And just to really focus on creating the beautiful and what makes your heart sing. Like follow the heart, not the mind. Right.
But to me, this is ascension. This is a part of us becoming whole, to lean into this more and live and breathe and exist from this place more than, and not the mind so much. So thank you so much for coming here and sharing everything. I love these conversations. They light me up on a Friday. And where would people find you best if they want to either have a reading or get in touch and learn more about astrology? Or the things that you offer?
So they could find me at my website, which is solsticemoon.com, but solstice is spelled SOULSTIC.
Yeah.
And you could also find me on Instagram at Solstice Moon Astro.
Lovely.
And I'm more than happy to do readings. I also have a free monthly full moon lunar newsletter, and I do new moon workshops as well on how to set intentions.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom. Thank you everyone for watching and listening, and we'll see you soon in the next episode.
Thank you so much.